Okay, so then we get to the main message of Joe Biden's quasi-victory speech. And I keep saying quasi-victory speech because he hasn't won anything yet, right, guys? There's still a legal process. I know CNN called something, but who cares? Who cares? Doesn't say in the Constitution. And when Wolf Blitzer says a thing, it magically becomes true. Anyway, Joe Biden gave his speech in Wilmington, Delaware, 70 feet from his basement. And he explained that it was time to put away harsh rhetoric. Says, Captain, I'll put you all back in chains and you ain't black if you don't vote for Joe Biden. Time to put away harsh rhetoric, is it? Mm-hmm. Here's Joe Biden.
It's time to put away the harsh rhetoric, lower the temperature, see each other again, listen to each other again. And to make progress, we have to stop treating our opponents as our enemies. They are not our enemies. They are Americans. The Bible tells us to everything there is a season, a time to build, a time to reap, and a time to sow, and a time to heal. This is the time to heal in America.
It's a time to heal, guys. It's a time to heal. So here's the question you should be asking yourself. What kind of healing are we talking about, Joe? Are we talking about the kind of healing where you acknowledge there are people who disagree with you, and then we all decide to live together and leave each other alone? Because that's my kind of healing, right? I like the kind of healing where California gets to be as dumb as California wants to be, and Florida gets to be as awesome as Florida gets to be. And if you're religious, you get to be religious. And if you're secular, you get to be secular. And nobody puts their values on somebody else's back, right? That's kind of, honestly, that's my kind of living together, is where we have certain core values, like the protection of human life, right? Like freedom of speech, freedom of the press, like the ones that are in the Constitution mainly. And then we mostly leave each other alone. Or the values of the Declaration of Independence. We agree on that. And then we agree to go our separate ways, and we still have a community because we are connected by these basic ideas. That's my idea of healing. I don't think that's what Joe Biden means by healing. I think what Joe Biden means by healing is, here's my Democratic Party agenda, and if you disagree with it, you're not part of the healing. Why aren't you part of the healing? I'm going to clock you in the head unless you're part of the healing. Heal with me. Heal. Right? I don't think this is going to be an era of tolerance. The fight is just beginning. We'll see this in just 1 second when you see what the Democratic Party, who is not Joe Biden, is actually saying. While Joe Biden is out there putting a nice, friendly Potemkin village facade on what is a seething undercurrent of rage inside the Democratic Party. Okay, so then Joe Biden talks about his mandate. I think this was my favorite part of Joe Biden's little speech, is where he talked about his mandate as president. It turns out his mandate as president is bleh. Really, I mean, it's just bleh. That's the only way to describe it, because it means nothing. It's meaningless slogans, actually, it turns out. His mandate isn't for a tax increase. His mandate is not for the Green New Deal. His mandate is not for any of his major policy prescriptions. Joe Biden himself expresses it. His mandate is to be a nice man. Which, wow, what a mandate. Big things going to happen because Joe Biden is a nice old man. Here's Grandpa Joe.
What is our mandate? I believe it's this. America has called upon us to marshal the forces of decency, the forces of fairness, to marshal the forces of science, and the forces of hope in the great battles of our time. The battle to control the virus, the battle to build prosperity, the battle to secure your family's health care, the battle to achieve racial justice and root out systemic racism in this country, and the battle to save our planet by getting climate under control, the battle to restore decency, defend democracy, and give everybody in this country a fair shot.
You get that? That's a strong mandate right there. That's a strong mandate for decency, McFairness, McScience, McHopey. Right? Strong agenda right there. Science, McHopey, McFairness, decency face. Wow. Wow, what a strong mandate. Not for a specific agenda, mind you, but to be a nice guy who cares about things. Not what things? Any things. Like the things. Like science and decency and democracy and hope. And massages of random women and smelling their hair, like lots of things. Like there's a mandate, guys. Okay, now what's hilarious about that, of course, is that he just says, I want a historic election. I want a historic election. And now I have a mandate. A mandate who has good families. Trump allows you. Okay, all right, fine. That doesn't seem like a very strong mandate, but sure, go with it. Okay, and then he pledges again, we're going to end the era of demonization. We're going to end the era of demonization. Again, I don't even need to play more of Joe Biden because it's the same message over and over. Right? I'm going to work as hard for everybody as people. If you didn't vote for me, I'm going to work hard for you. And we're going to get together and we're going to be best friends again. And we're going to play disco. It's going to be amazing, guys. We're going to cure disease like cancer and Alzheimer. Right? He said that. He's going to cure cancer and Alzheimer's. He's looking ahead to an America that's freer and more just, that creates jobs with dignity and respect, and that cures diseases like cancer and Alzheimer's. By the way, I will note a piece of odd timing. Pfizer today announced that they have developed a vaccine that is 90% effective at preventing coronavirus infections. They announced it today. Weird timing. Right? They wait until after the weekend when the media announced that Joe Biden is president. And then magically, just like the clouds parting, Pfizer announces this. Count me slightly suspicious. Like, it's great news. But let me just point something out. Donald Trump was president when Pfizer got the money to develop that vaccine. That's a Trump administration accomplishment. That is not a Joe Biden accomplishment. Anyway, okay, so that is the message of Joe Biden, right? Is that he has a mandate for niceness and happiness and fairness and brotherhood and smoking dope and hanging out and watching the moon rise and all that kind of stuff, right? It's going to be Hopi McChange Face, part 2, except weird and old and white. It's going to be fantastic. Okay, then there is the Democratic Party. And let me just say, when they say unity, I don't think that they mean that we get together and we sing Kumbaya. I think they mean unity like, here's a re-education camp. Would you like to come this way? Then we can be unified afterward. Like Fahrenheit 451 reunification. What if we could be unified because you think like me? And so if Joe Biden wants to actually promote unity, seriously, this is a serious thing now. If Joe Biden wants to promote unity, at some point he has to speak to his own side. Here's the thing. In any relationship, if you want there to be any sort of comedy between people, you have to go to the people who are creating division on your own side and tell them to knock it off. You have to have a sister soldier moment. Bill Clinton famously did this in 1992. There was a very little-known rapper named Sister Souljah who said something racially terrible about conflict between the races, and Clinton chided her, right? This was a big moment. He kind of picked her out of a hat and went after her specifically in order to have this unity moment. There were some of us throughout the Trump administration who loved what Trump was doing, but we were not super happy with a lot of the divisive things that Trump was saying, and we would call that out, right? I've not seen one iota of that from the Democrats. Not one iota. Not one. Okay, like, I'll believe that Joe Biden wants unity when he says to Michelle Obama, knock it off. Because here's what Michelle Obama tweeted over the weekend, right? The heart and soul of the Democratic Party. She put out an Instagram post, and here's what she put out in her Instagram post. Voting in one election isn't a magic wand, and neither is winning one. Let's remember that tens of millions of people voted for the status quo, even when it meant supporting lies, hate, chaos, and division. Does that sound like a kumbaya message to you? Does that sound like she wants to understand people on the other side, or like she cares about people on the other side? Does that sound like Michelle Obama, who is, in fact, the Oprah Winfrey of the Democratic Party, right? She is this mom of the Democratic Party who we're all supposed to respect her opinion because she's so nice and wonderful, and she's moved from being sort of a divisive figure in her early iteration to this great unifying figure, the best-selling author in the United States for the past several years. She literally says that tens of millions of Americans are motivated by hate and division and chaos to maintain the status quo. When is Joe Biden going to say, listen, Michelle, we need to have unity? Stop saying that about your fellow Americans. Stop it. Right? Just stop it. Stop implying that people, not implying, saying openly that people who disagree with you are motivated by a willingness to ignore hatred and brutality and evil and nastiness just to maintain the status quo. You think Joe Biden's going to say any of that? Of course Joe Biden's not going to say any of that because his own base is clamoring for blood. They are baying for political blood at this point. Right? You got Jennifer Rubin, who used to be labeled the conservative voice over at the Washington Post, which is hilarious. Okay, so Jennifer Rubin went on MSNBC after the media declared Joe Biden victorious. And again, there's a legal process. He is not, in fact, the president-elect of the United States yet, legally speaking. Jennifer Rubin went on there, and she turned into Fezzik from Princess Bride. They put her in a Holocaust cloak, lit it on fire, and she starts going, there will be no survivors. Here is Jennifer Rubin going completely hog wild.
It's not only that Trump has to lose, but that all his enablers have to lose. We have to collectively, in essence, burn down the Republican Party. We have to level them because if there are survivors, if there are people who weathered this storm, they will do it again. They will take this as confirmation that, hey, it just pays to ride the waves. Look at me. I've made it through. And so up and down the ticket, federal, state, local offices, the country has to repudiate this.
Okay, so there will be no survivors, guys. There can't be survivors. We need to take a list and check it twice and then murder everyone on it. Like, does that sound like unity to you? Joe Biden's out there, I like unity and mashed potatoes. And then you got over here Michelle Obama going, half the country is motivated by hate and chaos and division. And then you got Jennifer Rubin out here going, there must be no survivor. AOC did the same thing. AOC, I'm sorry, I keep calling her AOC. I keep forgetting. It is sexist and mean to call her by her Twitter handle, AOC. Instead, she's the Honorable Representative Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, D. Twitch. Okay, she tweeted out, Is anyone archiving these Trump sycophants for when they try to downplay or deny their complicity in the future? I foresee decent probability of many deleted tweets, writings, photos in the future. She's keeping a list, right? We got to keep a list of their bad tweets, of when they support Trump. LOL at the party of personal responsibility, like being upset at the idea of being responsible for their behavior over the last 4 years. Right? This is a call for revenge. Right? Anybody who supported Trump at any point must be revenged upon. Vengeance! Right? Elizabeth Abrams, who's a former Buttigieg campaign staffer, she tweeted out, "We're launching the Trump Accountability Project to make sure anyone who took a paycheck to help Trump undermine America is held responsible for what they did. Join us and help spread the word." Blacklists. This sounds like a party that's looking for unification and healing. That, like, de-Baathification, right? They're looking for unity through de-Baathification because you understand Trump was Saddam Hussein, and getting rid of Trump, that means that anybody who ever liked Trump or voted for him, the 70 million Americans who voted for Trump, 70 million Americans voted for Donald Trump. You know who is the second largest ballot winner in the history of the United States right now by popular vote count? Donald Trump. He's won more votes than Barack Obama ever did. Okay, some of that is due to population growth. Some of that is because lots and lots of people voted for Donald Trump. Okay, so you're talking about 70 million, de-Baathification of 70 million Americans. But unity, guys, unity. Peter Beinart, who is the representative of Hamas, he tweeted out, "In the 1990s, I came to know many young conservative journalists. Now some are household names. Back then, I never imagined a moral test that would so vividly expose their characters. Some abetted tyranny, others resisted it. Trump x-rayed their souls. I'll never forget what I saw." Well, I mean, if Peter Beinart, who still makes excuses for Hamas terrorists, is saying that he has x-rayed souls, then I guess that we'll have to take him at his word. Yes, I foresee an era of healing and national unity, or alternatively, I see an era in which Joe Biden is driven by the left in his party to wage war upon all the values that many Americans hold dear, especially in an election where Americans rejected the progressive left. Understand, this is an election where Americans looked at the progressive left and they vomited on it. Hey, even in California, they rejected a couple of very progressive measures. Right? There was one measure that was going to kill Uber and Lyft. They killed it. There was a measure that was going to reinstall affirmative action in the Constitution of the state of California, essentially. They rejected it overwhelmingly. All across the country, radicals were rejected. The Democratic Party was handed a loss in the House in a year where their top ballot getter won a record number of votes, more votes than any other candidate in the history of the Republic, and they lost seats in the House. They picked up 2 seats in the Senate and lost 1 in Alabama. Okay, that is not a victorious party. The Democrats who are calling for healing and reunification through de-Baathification, good luck with that. Good luck. The battle has just begun. Again, this is not a time of reunification and healing. Okay, I wish it were. Seriously, I do. I wish that Joe Biden would say to his own left, "Guys, you need to cut it out. So you guys need to stop this. We still have certain values in common. Let me spell them out for you, and they do not involve using the power of the government gun to compel my political opponents to do things that are against their constitutional rights." Wouldn't that be nice? But he ain't going to do that. And y'all know he ain't going to do that. All of this happy talk is just, all it is just pasting a sticker over a gaping wound in the body politic. And we all know it. We all know it. And you can see it in real time. I hope you enjoyed that clip from The Ben Shapiro Show. If you did, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you stay up to date on all of our future content.